So, as I was just showing you guys, this is the current exchange rate. 64 rubles to the dollar. I mean, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Who expected that, right? So what's up with the gas situation, right? Just to recap very briefly, 1st of April, Russia began demanding gas payments in rubles. Europe gets 40% of its gas from Russia. That means they're sending between 200 and 800 million euros every day to Russia to pay for the gas. And Russia figured, well, you know what? You sanctioned us. You froze about half of the Russian central bank's assets. And you've put over 5,000 sanctions on us. So we're going to ask you to pay for the gas in rubles because you need our gas. And the ruble is plummeted. And we want to shore up the value again. And it seems to have worked. Now, of course, it's not the only thing. There are other capital controls, the interest rates, the selling, companies that are making their money in foreign currencies to sell 80% of it. We covered all of this. But what happened is that there was a visceral reaction. The G7, the EU, they said, no way, Jose, we're not paying for this. Or I should say, no way, Ivan. We're not paying for the gas in rubles. Go to hell. We agreed on dollars and euros, right? Because these contracts are long term. And the Russian plan is actually very clever because it allows these countries, or as they call them, the unfriendly nations, to keep buying in euros and dollars. And the difference is that they have to open a second account in Gazprom Bank. And so, you know, they put their euros in the account. Gazprom Bank sells them in exchange for rubles, puts them in the ruble account, and then pays for them. I have a whole video explaining this, right? Now, what countries signed up for this? Because most of them refused to do it. But the ones that have accepted it, because they have no choice, Austria, Slovakia, Germany, Hungary, and I'm missing the last one. In any case, Austria gets 80% of its gas from Russia. Doesn't really have a choice. At the same time, the EU have announced they're going to wean themselves off of Russian gas. And they want to do that in the next 6 to 9 months, which I really don't know how they can do. But here's what they have come up with. There's an EU draft, and this is from Yahoo and Bloomberg. The EU drafts a plan for buying Russian gas without breaking sanctions. You can see this map. It explains, it visualizes what I was telling you, the share of natural gas imports coming from Russia, right? So you can see the more yellow the country, the more dependent on Russian gas. So when the UK, for example, banned Russian energy, it doesn't really matter for them because they're only getting about 3%. Same with the US. That does affect oil prices, though, and gas prices, no doubt. But this is what's going on, right? And so the European Union is set to offer its gas importers a solution to avoid a breach of sanctions when buying fuel from Russia and still effectively satisfy President Vladimir Putin's demands over payment in rubles. In new guidance on gas payments, the European Commission plans to say that companies should make a clear statement that they consider their obligations fulfilled once they pay in euros or dollars, in line with existing contracts, according to people familiar with the matter. The EU's executive arm told the governments that the guidance does not prevent companies from opening an account at Gazprom Bank and will allow them to purchase gas in accordance with EU sanctions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This is so funny. This is really funny, man. Let me translate what this word salad means, okay? As you guys know, the West have sanctioned Russia, okay? That means no business dealings, nothing, nothing, okay? The only thing they didn't sanction was the energy sector, right? So banks that handle payments for oil, for gas, because they need it to run the economy. They can't just stop buying Russian gas. So when Russia came out with this plan that they want to be paid in their own currency, in rubles, they flipped out, right? And you had people saying, no, this is a violation of the sanctions and we cannot do this and blah, 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 blah. It's not a violation of the sanctions. And I predicted that they would end up trying to save face. And this is exactly a confirmation of the draft that came out 2 weeks ago. Again, without confusing you too much, on the channel, there's a whole playlist about this gas thing, so you can follow it step by step. It's really funny. What's happening here in this paragraph, this is the EU saying, well, crap. we have no choice but to pay the guy in rubles. So, oh yeah, it totally doesn't violate sanctions. We're good. Yeah. Okay. Whatever you got to tell yourself to sleep at night, man. Do you see what they're saying? Like, basically, if you are a state gas company in Germany, for example, and you're buying the gas from Russia, you can do what Russia wants now with the rubles and everything else, but you have to write, you have to make a written statement saying that when I send you the euros, I consider the payment fulfilled. Okay, I mean, the EU can say that. You can say that to yourself. For the Russians, no, it's not. That's not the case. The payment is only fulfilled once you send the money, and then Gazprom Bank exchanges it to rubles and pays for the gas. This is so childish. This is literally just like, I really don't know what to call this. This is childish. This is childish. This is the EU just realizing that they're screwed and they have no choice but to pay Russia in rubles, and just to save face and you know, make it look like they haven't been fooled and made to look like fools. They are, you know, they're mandating these stupid pieces of paper to say like, oh, we are complying with our sanctions and we consider the payment done. Yes, but it's rather egregious affair, I must say. Whatever you have to tell yourself. European companies have been scrambling for weeks to figure out how they can meet Moscow's demand and keep the crucial gas flowing without violating sanctions. Yeah, we know all of this. So we went through all of this together. Okay? This is the thing. They just have to declare that their payment is complete. Whatever you got to tell yourself. Now here with Bulgaria, this is from Euractiv.bg, Bulgaria to replace Russian gas supply with cheaper US liquefied natural gas. Aha. So this is interesting, right? Because like we were saying, the alternatives to Russian gas are what? One of them is liquefied natural gas, and for short, it's called LNG, and that comes from places like Qatar or the United States. And this is not only more expensive, but it takes a very long time to actually get there. And on top of it, you need very special and specific infrastructure to offload the LNG. They're called LNG terminals. And I showed you a map of the LNG terminals that already exist in Europe. And they're not many. Germany doesn't have a single one, actually. Poland has one of them. So my point is that when the Europeans say, yeah, we'll just get LNG. Man, first of all, there's not enough LNG to meet all of Europe's Russian... there's not enough LNG in the world to substitute Europe's dependency on Russian gas. And even if there were, it is more expensive. And even if you could afford it, you don't have the terminals. So it's, you know, it's not feasible. Now, on a country-by-country basis, right, Bulgaria says here that it's going to receive supplies of US liquefied natural gas at prices lower than Gazprom's starting in June, in a deal struck between Prime Minister Petkov and US Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. So they said, quote, this is the finalization of the talks during this period, and the specific price depends on many conditions, including how the delivery will be made. At the moment, I do not have the details, he says. It is quite possible that the price will be lower than that of Gazprom because the price of Gazprom is quite high. The price of gas through pipelines, when delivered at a distance of more than 4,000 kilometers, certainly becomes high enough and may be higher than that of liquefied natural gas. Details on specific prices and quantities are not yet available. Well, I don't know, man. When I'm reading his statement, it doesn't sound very convincing, or, you know, it doesn't inspire much confidence. The whole problem with LNG, as I told you, is that it's very expensive and impractical to ship it from, you know, from the other side of the planet. So I don't know. You know, we'll have to see. Let's continue what they're saying here. Bulgaria will most likely receive regular supplies from the US, such as the general agreement between Biden and Ursula von der Leyen to begin regular supplies of LNG from the US. That's another thing that we looked at a few weeks ago, that the EU is basically handing a bit of its market share to the US. Keep in mind, though, what the US will provide in liquefied natural gas is only 10% of the 40% that Russia gives Europe. Do you understand? So what's going to come from the US is not 10% of Europe's natural gas requirements. It's 10% of what Russia gives, and Russia gives 40%. So you understand it's nowhere near enough. And this is interesting because Bulgaria and Poland, as you know, a few days ago, Russia cut off gas supplies to them because they refused to pay. Right? Now, Poland is another situation. Poland can get gas from the Yamal pipeline in reverse from Germany. It can get it from the new pipeline with Lithuania, the new pipeline in October from Norway. And it has one LNG terminal. And we did the math together. Roughly speaking, if everything goes to plan, it can substitute it. Its contract finishes with Russia anyway, with Gazprom. It finishes at the end of the year anyway. So, you know, according to the polls, they were saying that they were planning on weaning themselves off of Russian gas anyway. The thing with Bulgaria is a bit different because my recollection, I have to keep a million figures in my head all the time, is that Bulgaria gets 90% of its gas from Russia. And just let me double check that for you. Yes, that's correct. So that was what I was telling you the other day, that we have to wait and see, because in Poland's case, Poland is a bigger country and it gets 50% of its gas from Russia. So, you know, it's still a very difficult situation, but it looks like it's feasible. And with Bulgaria, we didn't know, right? So I told you, we'll wait and see, and now we see. So this is their plan. Well, I have my doubts that it's going to be cheaper than Gazprom. I really have my doubts. I could be wrong, but we will see what happens. And they're also saying here that at the end of June, the gas interconnector between Bulgaria and Greece will be ready, through which Bulgaria will receive an additional 1 billion cubic meters of gas per year, which is enough for a third of total consumption. Authorities in Sofia are trying to negotiate a threefold increase in supplies from Azerbaijan. Well, there you go. So this is what it's looking like for Bulgaria, where they're going to replace their, you know, this is how they're going to replace the dependency on Russian gas. Now, in terms of the EU, the deal we were talking about, the US and EU deal, that's an additional 15 billion cubic meters of US LNG delivered to Europe by the end of 2022. But again, like I told you, this is nowhere near enough. So we'll see what happens, right? With countries like Austria, with Germany, I don't think they have many solutions. And we will see what happens. But I find this very interesting that they're going to rely on Greece and the US to do that. We'll see how it goes. You know, one thing I want to look up is whether Bulgaria has an LNG terminal. You need one. Let's see. Right, okay, so that's the... Okay. Yeah, okay, this makes sense now. So just a few weeks ago, on May 3rd, Greece, Bulgaria say new LNG terminal will help cut reliance on Russian gas, okay? So they're going to build this off the northern Greek port of Alexandroupolis, and that will create a new gas route for Europe. Okay, that's how it's going to work, I see. Right. Very interesting, very interesting. Again, I like reporting on this gas thing, so I'll keep you guys updated. And the value of the ruble looks very interesting. Looks very interesting. I don't know how long that's going to last. According to the Europeans in the West and Biden, you know, by now they said that they were going to destroy Russia's economy, which is a bit weird to say that like so proudly, like we're going to destroy these guys. You know, that means civilian suffering, and then by extension the whole planet, because, you know, Russia is the #1 exporter of fertilizer. It gives Europe a lot of its gas. Ukraine and Russia give the world a lot of wheat. This is so destructive. I hope they find a solution quickly. But just pay attention to one thing. My final thought. I told you that one of the consequences of coming in and antagonizing Russia and getting Germany to cancel Nord Stream 2 and all this stuff is to make sure that Russia does not grow closer to Europe, and American corporations will get a chunk, will get a share of that market. And lo and behold, that is what is happening. It's not the only reason. It's not the only reason. I think they're making far more money with the weapons, right? But never underestimate the the greed of corporate the corporate greed of multinationals. They are very, very intuitive and always find a way to make money off of a tragedy.